Hey everybody, Everett's live music giving a shout out today, 7/20/23. Uh, what sparks a little bit of interest today? I got the social and environmental justice outlined in my title because I believe in it and I believe in us most of all. That's where we gotta find it, is within ourselves. But today we're shown some rounding up of the wild horses here in this state of Nevada, where we're about half of the population of wild horses. I believe roughly half, or a good chunk of it. I don't know the numbers today exactly, but it's always been here. And the kickback on it all and the publicity that'll be following it. These are problems that we create ourselves. And then we hand them down to our children. And then they sometimes are handing them down to the next generation, depending on how long it takes, it seems, before a problem has developed. Is one line that I think you could definitely see throughout the history of us. And again, that's why history is so important. I have it in so many of my songs. I find it not really all that unusual to not have many followers on the station yet at all. But where's the Sanford and Sons? Just that style of living where it's a little lower down, and we're not. I'm not probably going to have a bunch of fancy comic stuff be happening behind me or some animated vision for you. It's going to be that conversation that's going to bring us our greatest level of accomplishment and a level of understanding. I would hope we would find with one another, because you'll find in some of my stuff, as I've said before, it's not all perfect, but it's pretty darn good, man. I've been around a little while. And when I see this about the horses and stuff, all I can say is publicity gets us really bad sometimes. As Dina Titus says, the loss of those 10 or 12 horses, I don't know where they're going to end up with a number for today's. Was it today or yes? I have to be yesterday. It was in today's paper. But the roundup of the horses, the way we do it with helicopters and such matter. This is an animal that's been brought to this continent a long time ago. The first ones, there are before the Ice Age, there was another horse that lived here, and actually can be found here in the Vegas Valley, out in the Tule Springs, which is cool that they protected that area for a lot of the archaeologists and different people that go out there and explore, like myself at times, many places, and try to find what we can. And I just say that we've done this a really long time around the planet. Move stuff around when our ancestors, who were young and full of this way of life that we've learned to live, and then try to cultivate into a more modern idea of living, which it's really tough to do and to keep going with it. And I'm talking about the money and stuff a lot of the time, because it fuels most of the reason why we move across the planet in the manner that we do. And after moving across the planet and being generation after generation after generation of go, 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 it's going to be harder for you to want to slow down. It is our only solution to a lot of the problems. It is us, man. And I don't know where this goes, this message, but I hope it finds the ears of somebody that can appreciate someone else, that has found a way of thinking and seeing that, you know what, it is that. Because Because when you take all the predators away like we did so long ago and all the buffalo, and you disturb everything and you bring all these other animals into an area where they were never there before, and along with it you bring plant life that was not indigenous to the area, and as some take over and some are, it's an incredible vision that needs to be seen by all of us. A way of life that has been developed, and the repercussions are going to be endless, and it's unfortunate. Had the horses, I think, been brought here at one point and we just didn't mess with so much, it might have, the environment might have been able to absorb another species reintroduced into this continent, and I think the predators would have became more predators because now there's another food source. It might not have happened that way, but it might have. It may or may not have. But there might have been a balance at one time, or maybe not. We just didn't know. And every generation pays for it now. Is one of the greatest things I can say, is each and every generation has to pay for it now. For that mentality of more, and this accomplishment and this great pile of wealth that comes after this huge development of an area, and you don't really care at one time or another whether it's going to be able to support that level of activity. As long as you get your money and you get, and you get out. We see it a lot. We see it through so much. And it needs to be spoken of more. This message will go on longer than I'd like some of them to, but I don't get a lot of feedback. And there's so much that needs to be discussed. The killing of the horses is probably going to be necessary to one degree or another. We have to deal with it on one level or another. But this all goes back to so many different angles. And then I'd like to just... I don't get it back from the common folk much, but we have to understand that only together, that's where we're going to find our greatest strength. It's really tough for a lot of us to have our voices ever heard very often. Sometimes they are, and if it's only with a big pile of money that you get heard, well, then that's, and all that can be argued. I don't think that, like, basketball people and everybody should have all their money taken away, but this is a way of life developed around money, and I don't see how it's sustainable for the future forever, for the children and for the future generations. It does not work out, I would think, anybody. It takes time. Have you thought about it to a greater degree? But I do reach out for the horses and the management of the land, and I see them trying to stop the lithium mine. I tried to reach out to the horse people, to the Wild Horse Foundation. There's a couple angles. I made a few phone calls. I don't get much back. And I'm someone who is concerned, and has been, and I've tried to share a lot of music that comes around this, but just on another level, it's trying to get us to that level of consciousness. No one's going to save us. We're going to have to save ourselves from one another. Do you care enough about the animals and the plants, or is it all just in your way because there's a way of life developed around you and you've just become a product of your own environment? And you don't really have time to think about a lot of that stuff, and especially here in the city. And I try to speak about it sometimes. I'm not really well received. I'm not ill received totally, but at times it falls on deaf ears. It's something we have to start looking at and acknowledging on a very large scale, and possibly a different way of living, because this has been the way of life, and the only way of life we've known for so many generations. And what are we afraid of? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? To not have enough money, to be important enough, to buy enough stuff, to have somebody like you enough because you have more than the other person, and you are somehow viewed as someone that has achieved a greater social level standard in life. Like, it's just not. I thought about it earlier today, and there's a song. Is that all you do for the money? Do you do anything more for the money? Because it's not for the money when we do a lot of stuff. I got up in the middle of the night last week, and for my own park, I went and fixed a leak, a water blow leak, on an apparatus that somebody doesn't know what they're doing. I told them, know it first, I'll get to it in the morning. Then they came to me again. And they asked again, pounding on the door. Okay, I'll come. And I take care of that in the middle of the night, and I say I'll come if I get paid. I still haven't been paid, and I don't know how that'll work out. I'll get paid eventually, but at that moment when that happens, and you're desperate for the help, and someone steps forward and they have the knowledge, and they have the mechanical ability and know-how, and they stop something from blowing or leaking or whatever it might be, man. We choose to do this for one another, and someday we're going to have to choose to do it for one another simply because it's the best thing to do for each other. Perhaps not. Perhaps the money will live forever and that level of life will always be with us, but I don't think there's going to be that level of harmony and balance with it going like this. No, I don't think that totally at all. But education and all of it's going to be so important for everyone. And if you don't get educated so you can stay with some of the conversations, and you're not educated enough, we're not going to stand a chance. We're going to need that. Long message. Horses being rounded up. Some are dying because they're chased and then ran off. And, whatever it might be that happens, this is a world that we've kind of created because there was a level of balance at one time. And as through history we've moved along, and we've seen so many times how we disrupt the balance, and now we're trying to put the balance back, and it's kind of weird. I just do wonder sometimes. I mean, was there really nobody there at those moments in the history where they, through segregation and stuff, some people saying there was nothing we could do and this and that. It was just the way it was, and I don't want to accept that anymore. And I want to talk about it because that's our best chance, and not being somehow compromised emotionally or intellectually or whatever it might be, man. All we want to do is learn more and prepare ourselves for the future the best we can, and move in a manner that's going to be most supportive of everything. Many questions could be asked about this conversation and touched on, and if it so be something you're compelled to do, or if you catch wind of this, man, say something back, because we need each other. We do. Yep. Peace.